Hi guys, this is Ails from Ails Gaming TV, and this video is about how to build your main character Sung Jinwoo. Please keep in mind that I'm not claiming that this is the best build out there, since there are tons of players that have a better build than what I have right now. However, what I can assure you is that you will definitely be able to have much more efficient build, or maybe get some ideas on how you can improve your current build after watching this guide. But before we begin, if you would love to see more solo leveling Arise content, then please like and subscribe. This will really mean a lot to me, and it will give me more opportunities to reach more players all over the world who need guidance and a little bit of entertainment on their journey. So enough said, and let's jump right into the video.
L's Gaming TV.
Okay, so first, let's talk about stats. Stats is one of the best way for us to have a unique build here in SLA. This will also impact our gameplay and even our gear composition, since stats give us the freedom to create a build that will suit our own playstyle. So what I suggest is for you to focus on strength, agility, and perception. I know that this looks like a glass cannon build, but as of now, there's still no in-game content that require us to be more tanky or have more cooldown reduction to spam skills. So allocating all of your stats into offensive will be a great idea, since there's a timer in every dungeon here in SLA. Always keep in mind that more damage means much faster clear time. However, if we're going to see this from an MMORPG perspective, then pumping up your agility until hitting the 50% critical hit rate will be a much better choice in the long run compared to full strength. The reason behind this is that agility doesn't only give you critical hit rate, it also gives you critical hit damage, which will be a big factor if you want to deal a huge amount of damage. You will also want to get all the additional critical hit damage that agility can give, but only until you reach your critical hit rate cap, because adding more agility stats when you already have 50% critical hit rate will not be worth it anymore. So for me, adding agility will be a good option, since it increases 2 stats at the cost of 1, unlike strength, which only increases your raw attack. This will also give you the ability to increase your other damage multipliers using your artifacts, since you will not need any critical hit rate on your substats. Take note that stats like attack percent, damage increase, and defense penetration are not affected when you're increasing your base stats. So getting a 50% critical hit rate using your main stats will be a great option if you want to increase those damage multipliers. For the perception, you can just keep your precision stats around 80 to 90%, since you will also need them to increase your minimum damage. However, precision stats can easily increase by using weapons with high advancement tier, so just put some stats on your perception if you still don't have those kinds of weapon. Another thing about this is that the amount of perception stats required to reach 80 to 90% becomes much higher each time you level up. So I don't suggest that you pump it till max, since your other stats like strength and agility will be affected, and that will cause you to deal less damage. Next will be your weapons. For this one, your primary weapon will mainly depend on your preferred playstyle. Many of us choose the plum sword as our main weapon, since it has some flashy skills and attack animations, but others choose the Demon King sword due to its cool looking lightning abilities, or the grimoire, since it makes you fight like a real mage. There are also some that use SR weapons like West Wind, since they want to perform huge burst damage. This means that my real suggestion for weapons is for you to choose depending on the playstyle that you really like. All of the SSR and some SR weapons are almost evenly matched when it comes to damage output, but a big part of your DPS will depend on how you synergize your two weapons and how you use them. In this case, I recommend that you choose two different elemental weapons if you don't have a lot of resources, especially for F2P players, since elemental advantage is always a big factor when dealing decent damage output. So focusing on two weapons that have the same element will put you at a disadvantage once you encounter boss fights that have the same element as your weapons. Just a quick tip, it's best for you to use the Grimoire, since it works like a universal weapon due to its ability to interrupt enemies and help you easily set up your skill combos, as well as its deep erosion effect that increases the damage taken by targets with elemental weakness. So choosing this one as your second weapon will be a good choice, since it is a great support sub-weapon. Next will be the skills. For the basic skills, I suggest that you upgrade all of them until level 4, since you will need to have the ability to adjust or adapt in different situations. In this game, there are times that you will need a lot of break skill due to the boss's shield gauge. but sometimes you'll just need skills that have a huge damage multiplier for you to kill the boss much faster. Take note that you will only upgrade them once you have extra resources, but it's still best for you to pick at least 2 to 4 skills that you will prioritize upgrading. Skills that I would recommend will be the Death Dance, Cutting Rush, Vital Strike, and Mutilate. Those 4 have decent damage multiplier as well as a variety of buffs and debuffs when you unlock certain runes. Keep in mind that this doesn't mean that the other skills are worthless, since every skill is actually useful in different scenarios, like Multi-Strike for breaking shield gauge and Commander's Touch for dealing AoE damage. Next, for your QTE skills, it is best for you to upgrade all of them since they are all usable in combat and they are just trigger skills that will give you the ability to provide follow-up damage on your basic skill combos. However, the best one out of the 3 will be the Shadow Step since it applies a debuff that decreases the defense of the target by 60%. This specific skill is actually the most important skill that Sung Jinwoo has since the debuff effect can even help you clear dungeons that have a 50k TP difference. So it is highly recommended that you practice your dodging skills to trigger extreme evasion and shadow steps. Next will be your ultimate skill. This one is actually no-brainer. Just max out Truth Mutilate since it has a better damage multiplier than Darkness Obliteration. For the weapon skills, you can upgrade all of their active skills, but what I suggest is that you only upgrade the basic and core attacks of your main weapon if you're trying to save some resources, since we rarely use the sub-weapon's basic and core attacks. But if you have more resources to spare, then upgrading all of your weapon skills will be a great idea since your armory will also benefit from the total power increase. Next will be Blessing Stones. For this one, I will just highlight 4 since those stones are the only ones that will definitely affect your gameplay once you get them. First will be the Reawakening. This one doesn't look like much, but the skill cooldown reduction will definitely help you clear those difficult dungeons, especially when you're pushing higher stages. Most of us have experienced those times when we just needed a few seconds before we could cast a specific skill to end the fight, but we'd always fall short due to the skill cooldown. So using Reawakening will definitely give you the ability to clear much higher contents. Next will be the Weakness Detection. This is just a straight up damage increase, but 8% damage is pretty decent for a blue rarity Blessing Stone. Like I said earlier, more damage means much faster clear time. Next will be Pulverize. This Blessing Stone only works with bosses or elite monsters that have shield gauge, but we all know that breaking those shields is a must if you want to clear that specific dungeon. That's why this stone is an S tier for me since it doesn't just increase the power of your break effect, it also increases the damage you deal to monster after you break their shield. And last will be the Boss Slayer. This one is by far the best for me since it has a decent damage increase when fighting boss monsters. So pairing this up with Weakness Detection will give you a decent damage increase that can help you clear higher stages of the game. Just be mindful that the negative effect of this Blessing Stone is that your dash cooldown will increase by a specific percentage. So always keep an eye on your dash cooldown when using this Blessing Stone. Take note that this doesn't mean that the other Blessing Stones are useless. It's just that these 4 will definitely help you have a decent damage output compared to the others. So always feel free to mix and match for you to find the best build that will suit your playstyle. So for our last topic for this guide, the artifacts. There are a lot of combinations you can choose from, but let's talk first about your accessory set. For this slot, the only set you should use is the Beast set since this will give you a huge amount of attack due to its passive buff ability, which allows you to have 50% chance to increase your attack by 1.6% when landing critical hit. This buff stacks up to 100 times, that's why this set will definitely be the best one for you to use. We can argue that the other sets such as Free Descent, Behemoth, Red Eye, and Skeleton can be better at the first few seconds of the fight, but as you get a higher stack of your expert buff, I assure you that the Beast set will outperform them. Next will be the armor set. This one will depend on your current stat, build, and playstyle, but if you don't have enough critical rate, then the toughness set will be the best for you since it gives a decent amount of critical stats. However, if you already have 50% critical hit rate, then you can use the arm set for the additional attack and 15% ignore defense, which will be useful when you're in the end game and fighting bosses that have a ton of defense. You can also use the destroyer and one hit kill set if you want to buff your ultimate and deal a huge amount of damage. But for me, I will just use the arm set since I plan to max out my critical stats using my agility. Then I'll pump additional attack percent, damage increase, and defense penetration in my artifact substats to have more damage multipliers. I'm also not a fan of destroyer and one-hit kill sets since they only focus on your ultimate, and for me, other things such as skills, normal, and core attacks will suffer if you choose to use those sets. But there are still good options if you don't have good stats in your toughness and arm set. You can also try to mix and match since getting the correct main and sub stat is much more important than the set effect. So never sacrifice your main stat just for the sake of the 4-piece set effect, since you will definitely deal less damage and the 4-piece effect here in SLA is not that huge of a boost compared to what the correct main stat can give. So that's it. I hope I was able to help you build your own unique and better Sung Jinwoo. Keep in mind that this is just my insight and you should use this as a resource to have a stronger build than every one of us. You can comment down below if you think I missed some information or if you have any suggestions on what we should tackle next. Also, remember to play this game at your own pace, never get burnout, and always have fun. Till next time, peace!